Ultra high protein intake can control binges and appetite. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I thought I would talk to you guys and gals a little bit about this today. And this is something that people are not always going to understand. You're going to see a lot of coaches, you're going to see a lot of fitness professionals and stuff who simply don't grasp this concept, or they don't grasp the needs of people with binge eating issues, the formerly obese. I'm someone who's been like probably 320 pounds at my heaviest. And I don't know for a fact what it was because I was scared to weigh myself. I was so fat when I was younger at that point. Like I knew I was over 300, so I could estimate it, but I didn't even want to step on the scale. I was so embarrassed by it at the time. So again, I'm someone who's been through these things, and I chat with a lot of other trainers and other people out there who've been really, really morbidly obese before. And, we share our experiences and strategies and even stuff that we use with those clients. And I mean, this is something that I find to be useful, is the heavy protein intake, particularly protein to stave off binges, right? So that's one of them, when it comes up and I get people who are like, well, what do I do when I feel a binge coming? I've done whole sessions with people on this, like people who pay me for consultations, who I've given this advice to, not my clients, people who want consultations on their diet, their binge eating. And I'm like, that's your solution. If you're struggling with true binge eating, protein feeding. So what I tell the people is, look, you keep in your kitchen, keep a bunch of chicken breasts cooked. Plain chicken breast, either grilled or baked in the fridge, like all prepped, ready to go. Like have 5 pounds of it around. Have 4 or 5 pounds of chicken always ready. I mean, it could be turkey breast or lean steak too, but chicken is usually easier and cheaper for people, right? And the fact that it's dry really, really helps. Oh my God, that's a game changer. Okay, this is where I'm about to go with this. You have people who hear that and they're like, that doesn't sound appetizing. I know, that's the beauty of it. All right, so the same thing. You could have a bunch of like plain fat-free Greek yogurt, and it's the fat-free for a reason, because again, volume control. All right, protein satiety. And here's what I tell those people, like, look, if you feel a binge coming on, immediately run to your fridge. Don't even wait, like you're like, oh man, I have the urge to binge. Instead of sitting there dwelling on it, you run to the fridge and you grab that food. You grab that chicken breast. You take a pound of chicken breast out, you put it on a plate cold, squirt some mustard on it so it's moist enough to eat, and just start eating it. Eat that chicken until all of a sudden the idea of your binge becomes unappetizing. Okay? This will completely blunt your appetite. And in a worst case scenario, let's say you still mess up. People are like, well, I did that and I felt full and I still went and tried to binge. Yeah, except you probably vomited the binge up at that point. Or you couldn't get much down. You're like, wow, this is really just, oh. But then you get all the satiety and thermic effect and everything of the protein. So here's the trick to that. Or it could be your Greek yogurt. You go eat the whole tub of Greek yogurt with a spoon. And I mean eat it plain. Just start spooning that stuff up. Okay, here's what ends up happening. It becomes unpalatable very, very fast. Just plain boring foods that are 70, 80, 90% protein by calorie. They blunt your appetite. So if you were thinking about that binge, that pizza, that ice cream, that candy bars, that 12-pack of candy bars you were about to go binge on as a binge eater, man, it just starts to become, I don't want to eat all of a sudden. Like the heavy protein intake, especially if you start hitting like 80, 90, 100 grams of it in one sitting, you get through that full pound of chicken, you get through that full tub of Greek yogurt, your stomach is full. It is uncomfortable. It does not want more food, and you don't want to eat, and it's going to take hours for that to clear your stomach. In fact, if you do just nothing but a lean protein like that and force it down really quick, especially if it starts hitting like 100 grams of protein, the idea of eating becomes almost repulsive at that point. Okay, on top of that, it's very low calories, and what have we actually done? We get a large thermic effect. Remember, those protein overfeeding studies show that when protein was force overfed, people started losing body fat while they were trying to put them into surpluses, particularly lifters. So do you see how this works with the binge? People are like, well, you could get fat, you could eat so much protein that you gain fat. That's a nice hypothesis, isn't it? Has it ever been tested in the lab? Yes, it's been tested in the lab. It is almost impossible to create a calorie surplus by adding hundreds and hundreds of grams of protein. It doesn't work. When it's been studied, the people end up losing a little bit of weight. You cannot overfeed enough protein to create a surplus. People say, well, I'll try it. You dropped a challenge, I'll find a way. But you see what I mean? You have to find a way to do it. It won't happen on its own. That's the beauty of it. Yeah, in other words, the only way you're going to create the surplus, if you just force overfeed a bunch of protein, literally the only way you're going to create a surplus and gain weight is if you find some way to force it to happen. Because of both the thermic effect and the impact on satiation and appetite. So this shuts down a binge. It shuts it down, and even if they do try to binge, they're going to offset the damage. That massive thermic effect of the protein, the fact that your stomach is full. If you do that and you eat something that's like 100 plus grams of lean protein in a meal like that, especially something try like the chicken breast with mustard or just plain Greek yogurt that's fat-free, oh man, you're going to struggle to eat anything. So it's going to completely mitigate. It can turn your binge, it might have been a 5,000 calorie binge, and all of a sudden you eat 400 or 500 calories and you feel like you're going to vomit. All right. Not only then does it shut it down, you're getting that massive thermic effect from the protein. You might completely stop any fat gain at all from the binge. Okay. And all it's going to do is then make you feel nauseated. All right. This is a viable solution. So think about this, how this carries over to your other stuff. They noted that when people try to overfeed protein, they end up somehow losing body fat and body weight in the studies that look at it. And I'm talking, guys, we're talking like 400 grams of protein a day type stuff. So see how that could be applied to your standard diet, meaning the more protein you eat, the higher the thermic effect, so your calories in, calories out changes. In other words, if you're at maintenance on 3,000 calories and 200 grams of protein and you try to add 200, 250 more grams of protein to that to get to 3,400 calories, you may end up into a small deficit just purely due to the thermic effect and nutrient partitioning. Okay, even though you added calories, sometimes we end up losing a little body fat from that. So the same thing can be applied, the appetite suppression combined with the thermic effect. This is a beautiful way to just control your appetite. It's not appetizing, it's not fun, but it works. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.